Oh, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon. It is 3:30 here in southern British Columbia in Canada, and it is a sort of overcast day, but the sun is trying desperately to peek through on this amazingly beautiful fall afternoon. For those of you who might be new to the broadcast, welcome. Feel free to listen in or join in. Just be aware that if I don't know you very well, I'm probably going to ask if I can repeat what you said because you might not realize that the broadcast goes on a replay and is there for ever and ever. And so, for people I don't know, I want to make sure they know that they get that choice. And for the regulars, I don't bother to ask because they know that. The other thing is, please be aware that there is a bell down here somewhere that you can click on and it'll let you know when I'm about to go live. And to know that if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, two good reasons for that. Number one is we are an extended family of people, and we try to support one another through things like, birthdays and anniversaries and hospital visits and, down times when we're not feeling too good. And we're sort of like to keep in touch with what everybody is doing. So if you're in need of an extended family, maybe yours is not doing the job the way you would like, feel free, if you will, to let us know and join us on Facebook, and we will keep in touch. All right, so that's the most of that stuff done. Today we're going to be talking about trusting ourselves. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about that, and because this is a Sunday broadcast, we do three a week, by the way, people. The first one is on a Friday lunchtime, and that's our skills broadcast where we try and learn something new and or remind ourselves of something. And then we have the Friday evening one, which is our smile broadcast where we try and find things to laugh at. And then this one is our Soul Sunday, where we try to go a little bit inward and just be at peace with ourselves. And so today I chose trusting ourselves as a topic. The, we've got quite a few of our viewers who are having a tough time at the moment. And what I wanted them to do is to just have that ability to be able to just check in and understand that everything that they are going through at the moment is there for a purpose, even if we don't understand it. And sometimes it takes a little while for us to understand what's going on in our lives. And what we need above all else is to trust ourselves. If any of you have ever adopted a dog, or maybe a kitty cat, you will know that the first couple of weeks, the most important thing for that animal to know is that they can trust you, that they can trust you to feed them, that they can trust you to, give them clean water, that they can trust you to come home and not leave you alone in where this new place that they found. And so to me, the most important time in our lives is to get people that we feel we can trust and that we can trust them through good and through bad. And, I'm really shocked at how many people forget that the most important person in their lives to do that is themselves. And if you don't trust yourself, then life can get very lonely. If you don't trust yourself, then, decisions become very difficult. Hi there, Britt. Good to see you as well. All right, so it's a funny thing. Germany Kent said that it's a funny thing about life. Once you begin to take note of the things for which you are grateful, you begin to lose sight of that you lack. And some of you will have discovered that when you get this mindset of I am grateful for what I have, even if it isn't all that I want, I am grateful for all that I have. I keep trying to remind myself that, boy, there are so many millions of people in the world that would really love to have the problems that I have. Do you know what I mean? It's because they're first world problems. So many people don't have the things that I have and therefore don't have to make the decisions that I have to make. And quite honestly, a lot of them are so much happier than we are with all that we have. Roy T. Bennett, who we quote a lot on a Sunday, said, "The more you believed in yourself, the more you could trust yourself. The more you could trust yourself, the less you compared yourself to others." I am hoping that some of the viewers are beginning to find out that really comparing yourself to others is such a sad way to live. Hi, Benji. Good to see you. It's such a sad way to live, trying to compare yourself to others. If ever I really want to make sure that I feel down on myself, let me compare myself with other YouTubers, for example. Why would I do that? Because I like to believe, and one of the things that I like you all to really get a sense of is that you are unique in what you do and how you do it. I think it's really important if you want to do what you want to do in your life, and it is your life to do what you choose to do, that you understand that comparing yourself to others is a bit scary and also not that very fair on you. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't aspire to be like others and you shouldn't learn from others, but to compare your self-worth to other people's is very dangerous because 9 times out of 10, you really don't know the truth of what they go through to be who they are. And I would like you to be very aware of that this week. People who look in, hi there, Pat. Good to see you. Are you still camping, Pat? The I want you to have a look at that and think about, their lives. The grass is always greener, right? Their lives look easier. Doesn't mean that they are. And you don't know the half of what is going on. Barbara Mechanic, I think her name is, said your perceptions are derived from your feelings and your ability to be yourself, to own and trust yourself, to say what you feel, even when it may be diametrically opposed to everybody else's opinion. You may be called the devil's advocate or the devil incarnate, in fact. You may feel like cow pies are being thrown at you. Sometimes that is part of being your true self. I just want to, there was a 75-cent word in there, which is diametrically opposed. Let me give you an example. These two words are diametrically opposed. They are the absolute opposite of each other. Make sense? These two words are diametrically opposed. Got it? It's a upmarket way of saying opposite. How many of you are going, can't wait to use that this week? Okay, diametrically opposed. Okay, the absolute opposite of it. You will meet, Nikki Rose said this, she said that you may meet many opponents in your time that will come face to face with your flaws. Trust the chaos. Pain and confusion is the pathway to break open and become free. I wonder if any of you have found that in your lives, that, sometimes the best relationships you build are when you are at your worst, when you've had a bit of a snit, when you stomped your foot and realized that you really did feel quite strongly about something. Have any of you ever done that? And then found out that the person, the other side, actually turned out to be somebody who could accept that in you, that actually could see that was your passion, that it wasn't coming from a place of criticism as much as a place of care. But, it just had a funny way of being shown. And I wonder if you give that compassion to others, that not always when people are angry with you, Do they not like you? Sometimes the very reason they are angry with you is because they are so desperately trying to protect you. Do any of you relate to that? Have you ever had, a child or a loved one where your frustration caused you to literally do the opposite of what you wanted to do? You wanted to be kind and loving and understanding, and you ended up being, you know, the so and so from hell instead. I've been there. But in that, I have to say that in that I've also found out who my friends are. Right. The Brit saying that's all he gets from his father. Amit Kalantri said that take care of your costume and your confidence will take care of itself. How many of you have found out that if you act as if you are in control of yourself, that 9 times out of 10, you do a better job of it? Right? I many years, did a lot of leadership training with young people. And one of the things I always said to them, act as if you want to be successful, act as though you are. If you want to be loved, act lovingly, right? Act as if you have these skills because you'll be amazed how much you are able to do the right things. If you want to be successful, study successful people. If you want to be trusted, be trustworthy. It makes sense, everybody. And Kelly Martin in a book said that you are conditioned to believe that if you let go, if you surrender, you will either be a victim of circumstance and not assertive enough in your own being, or you will be viewed as being lazy, lacking in willpower, and unmotivated. Yet, will and power cannot exist alongside one another. Motivation does not come into question when you surrender fully to the present moment. Motivation to do, to take action, to make moves comes naturally from surrender. Have any of you found that where you were battling to get something done and you actually got honest enough to let somebody else know and say, hey, I could do with some help on this? In that letting go of your ability to do everything all the time, the ability to be able to just stop and say, hey, I really would like to get this done, but it's not hitting the top of my to-do list. I like to call it, rent a manager. And rent a manager means that you find somebody who cares about you enough to keep track of the fact that you are doing or not doing the thing that you know you need to get done. And I quite often rent a manager to help me achieve tasks in my life. And by the way, I just wanted to mention that I think if it pleases you all, I'm going to start adding in some what are we going to do as our seasonal task this week. And this week, I am going to have a look at my couches and I'm going to give them a clean. It's a seasonal thing. And I've got a feeling I haven't really had a good look at mine for an annual thing. Do any of you relate to that? So I'm actually going to lift the cushions and I'm going to take a damp cloth to them and wipe them down and try and just freshen them up a bit. Yes, it's no, but I think in a way, yes, the Brits saying I'd rather have somebody do it all for me. Yes, that's called abrogation of your responsibility. Um, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who actually do want to get things done. There's a difference, Brit, but I see you. No, it's not being very adult. You're quite right. It's being Very human, though, Britt. I found that an awful lot of people want that. They want to get things done as long as somebody else will do it for them. How many of you relate to that? It's an amazing thing when you can see, and I give you 10 out of 10 for you to be able to see, Britt, that that's not a very adult thing. That's what children expect. It's not what adults expect. You may want input as to ways in which you can do it, right? But the truth is, it's your responsibility as an adult to do it. Charles Yu said, I know none of this seems very believable. It probably doesn't even make sense. But for once in your life, please, I'm asking you to trust me and trust yourself. Britt, the fact that you say that you know that and you can own it, I want to tell you that is 90% of the battle. I really have to say that if you can own where you are being childish, then you are well on your way to being adult. So give yourself a big pat on the back. It was said by somebody whose name I just not even going to try and pronounce, that what is the point of complaining about your tragedies, your obstacles, and your scars? What is the point of playing the role of the victim? What is the point of revealing your misery to others, no matter how close they are? No one will ever feel your pain or how much it hurts. No one will understand your fears or why you suddenly couldn't hold on anymore. It's your road. You've walked it barefoot among all the difficulties. I am sure, too, that you know your way and your heart will guide you to the best destination. If you only trust the light within. Wow. Does anybody want me to repeat that? Because that is really an amazing passage to live by. That is the essence of what caring for ourselves is really all about. It is owning our pain. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give it one more go and and Jody, I'd like to put this into the resource page because I think it's that powerful that other people may want to reread it. What is the point of complaining about your tragedies, obstacles, and scars? What is the point of playing the role of victim? What's the point of revealing your misery to others, no matter how close they are? No one will ever feel your pain or how much it hurts. No one will understand your fears or why you suddenly couldn't hold on anymore. It's your road. You've walked it barefoot among all the difficulties. I am sure, too, that you know your way, and your heart will guide you in the best destination if you only trust the light within. You know, we've got a couple of viewers going through a really tough time at the moment, and one of the things that I have asked them to do is to trust themselves to make the right decision for them. It's not for us to make a decision for them. It is for them to make a decision for them. And have any of you come across people who seem to get their jollies out of complaining? And you might get really honest with yourself and say, how does that feel when the only times they seem to talk to you is when they're complaining? And I know that I had somebody in my family who the family all just said, her strength was in misery. I don't know. Oh, I don't know if any of you understand that. It seemed that she was at her happiest when she was complaining about things. And so I ask you to work hard at not spending your life complaining to others. I ask you to really concentrate on trusting yourself that you can cope with this. You don't have to always be getting somebody else's approval of what you want to do. Jacqueline Edgington said, "You have to be the best friend to yourself. If you hate yourself, and then everybody else will see that, and they won't like you either. You have to be your best friend. You can rely on yourself. You can trust yourself. That's the secret. When you blame everybody else for your bad luck, it takes away your power to help yourself." I am hoping that some of you over the months have realized that as you grow with your emotional intelligence, you are blaming others a whole lot less than you used to. You now know that if you've got a pain, it's a good idea to go to the doctor, not just sit and complain about it. If you are concerned about your pet, it's a good idea to go to the vet, not just sit and complain about it. And I'm hoping that you can see that proactive, that is doing something, is the way we succeed. We do not succeed in anything by just sitting and complaining about it. We need to do something to make our lives happy. We need to do something to keep our friendships. We need to do something and to be sociable and get friends, right? Life is about what we do. It's about a human being that is doing something to their best good. Mimi Novick said, "Some words echo within one's heart the memory of our promise to truly live the life we have been granted by the divine." Some words echo within one's heart the memory of the promise to truly live the life we have been granted by the divine. For some reason, you have been granted this life you're living. It is so you can learn the lessons you need to live. Some of you will be highly successful in those lives, and some of you not so much. But whatever it is that is in your life right now is something that you need in your life to learn the next lesson. David Rico said, "Our trust is core trust because it's actually trust in the core of ourselves. Built into our human personhood is the gift from the universe. This gift is an ability, an inclination to make something good, growth, fostering, or useful out of anything that happens, no matter how painful or how negative it is. This is always the way of saying that the universe is ultimately friendly, helpful to and favor our evolving richly in love, wisdom, and healing power. Thus, nothing is fully negative, since anything can be passed through the life-trusting core of us and be transformed. As early as the book of Genesis, this possibility was noticed by humans, and the Word of God was used for core. And if you think about that, those of you who have faith, your very rock on which you stand is the Word of God. And that you can see that although things come into your life that are not pleasant, you have learned that you can survive, that you can cope. And you can cope perhaps with far more than you ever dreamt you could. And that in itself is a gift for you to be able to see that. It was said that don't expect don't expect an energy from the heavens when your life energy is exhausted. Everything is in you. A part of the job that we have to lower our vibration, if you like, part of the job that we have to be aware of the stress we're under and keep that as low as we can is because if we don't do that, we will not be coping well with all the external stuff. Mimi Novak also said there is no one more powerful than the one who trusts their own heart. And yes, I quite agree with you, Nyasha, that that is a great lesson to have learned. Nyasha saying, well, I used to think about standing up for myself, but it was here in the broadcast that gave me the courage to actually say it. And now I am learning how to say it with an appropriate tone. That is awesome, Nyasha. That is growing up, right? Anybody can have a snit. It's being able to do it with an appropriate tone. That is wonderful. Well done. Janine Roth asked, ask yourself what you love without fear of consequences, without force or shame or guilt. What motivates you to be kind and to take care of your body and your spirit, of others, the earth? Trust the longing, trust the love that can be translated into action without the threat of punishment. Trust that you will not destroy what matters most. Give yourself that much. Yeah, that's very true, Britt, right? All you do when you lose your temper with others is to hurt them and yourself, Britt. I'd like to add that I don't know many people who lose their temper that are proud of it, right? And so you lose a bit of your own self respect when you lose your temper. And boy, I've been there, so I know. If you trust yourself much, you can change your life easily, just like you can change the place of the feathers with a simple blow. You can choose to be in a different place. You will all have heard me say that when people ask for input, you know, I try to give them as many options as they may need from which they can make their decision. But as Frank Sonnenberg said, consider the advice of others, but trust yourself in the end. You see, making decisions for other people is not helping them. Our job is to actually give them options and hopefully give them ones that from which they can choose. And when they say, yes, yes, but which one should I do? Some of you will have heard me say time and time again, I can't tell you that because this is your life. But here are some things that might help. All right. And you can choose to do them or not do them. Does that make sense to everybody? Because you see, everybody is going at their own speed. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they're uneducated. It's not any of those things. You see, everybody is learning at their own speed. They're learning life at their own speed. And I don't think it is for us to judge whether they're going fast enough or not. That's playing God. And so to me, I like to remember that I have lots of options just because of my time on this universe for people, but I don't know the right thing for them to do. Right? That is for them to decide. But I also, you will have heard me say this, I also work very hard at saying, whatever your decision is, know that we will still be here for you. In other words, I expect some people to make decisions that we might not necessarily agree with as human beings. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't care for them anymore. It just means that is their path, that is their learning. And when we can trust ourselves to be compassionate of that, then we are well on our path to emotional intelligence. All right, so Nyasha is asking, I might be different as others viewed me as less than. So apparently their job was to, or is it for me to push to the edge? And that is my belief that that they don't expect me to react. That is your choice, Nyasha, whether you want to react to everybody that judges you. I want to tell you that the greatest power I found, and it's just for me, was when I realized that everybody had the right to judge me. It wasn't my job to convince them that they were wrong. It was their interest in me that would either prove it wrong or not. In other words, if they were interested enough to get to know me as a human, they would find out that that judgment wasn't very fair. But really, my experience has been that trying to force people to have a different opinion, you both end up losing. And so the same thing as, when I get haters writing comments sometimes, I just thank them for their input. I don't have to agree with them or disagree with them. It is the most powerful reply I have found, which is thank you for your input. Right? End of story. I don't have to take it any further than that. So when somebody insults you, you can just go, thank you for your input. Knowing it's just their opinion, it doesn't make it right. And it is not your job on earth to convince them otherwise. I actually have said to people, and thank you for your input. Hopefully, one day you will find out that there's a little bit more to me than that. But you'd have to get to know me pretty well, perhaps, before you can see that. All right, and Kimmy's asking, how do you handle things if a person keeps blaming you for their bad choices? Okay, do you want to give us a for instance, Kimmy, so that we can deal in a real life thing? Mimi Novak also said, each new breath is an opportunity to try again. Don't hide from life. Whatever happens, we are far greater in any problem than that we are facing. Look around you. See the sky, the flowers, the beauty, the people, absolutely everything around you is showing you that you are still alive and that you are still needed here. You don't need everybody to agree with you. Kimmy, if you can, give me a for instance so that I can deal with something that's a real issue. I think a lot of people blame others for their bad choices. How many of you have found that out? They don't want to be responsible for having made that. Well, you told me to. That means that you probably did. If somebody says, "But you told me that's what I should do," then you probably did tell them. Oh, there's an interesting one. Yes, that's quite common, Kimmy. Kimmy, can I repeat that, Kimmy? Right. So Kimmy's saying, and some of you have had this happen in your life, where you've got people in your life that have chosen to do drugs or are constantly in and out of jail or a drug dealing or doing, I don't think that many of us haven't got that somewhere within our um, knowledge that somebody we know has done something like that. We need to be really aware of the fact it is their choice to do that. Right? It is not that we didn't give them enough. It is not that they didn't get the right education. It is not that they weren't loved enough or whatever. It is that what they chose to do because they could not cope with life as it is. That is, that is really important to understand. And, if somebody were to blame me for that, I would probably say something like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, Kimmy. That's all you need to say. I am so sorry that you feel that way. And I pray that one day you will learn that that was not true. So you, by not helping them, were responsible for their choices. Even though you're saying you did help them. You see, that is somebody who wants to be a victim, Kimmy. And with all due respect, um, victims will blame everybody but themselves. It is when they start realizing that they created their own hell that they will start improving their lives. All right? So, what I would do is I would also pray for them to see life differently. I've had people in my life who have done some things I really didn't like. But what I said was, it is their right to do that. I just choose not to be around them while they do it. I'm not going away. I will still be there within arm's reach should they choose to change that behavior. But it's their choice to do that. And I remind them that it is their choice. Right? And I even encourage them to make their choice. Yes, Kimmy, you have had to back off because you spent so much time trying to fix them. All right. And trying to make life easy for them and trying to give them the benefit of your learning. When the truth is, they need to find that out for themselves in their own way. All right. And all of us have people who judge us. And some are incredibly cruel in their judgments. Yes, it is too toxic. And Kimmy, I would really encourage you and also Nyasha, who has a lot of this in her life, really, just go to Professor Google and type in how to deal with toxic people. It's just like, really, there is so much wonderful input out in the universe today. It is not like in my time where, we had to sort of wait and go and buy books and spend money. Today, it's out there for free if you want it. All right. And so that is part of why we do the work that we do here, because I believe that is what a family does, right? A family helps you cope. A family doesn't stop you from hitting problems, but a family says, hey, even though you're going through this tough time, and even though I might not like your behavior, I love you. There's a difference. So sometimes these people that judge us, it's not about you at all. It is about their stuff. Because to judge others means that you don't have a lot of trust in yourself. Ah, so Kimmy, very important to know, all right? Kimmy's saying, I wasn't trying to fix them. I was being lied to and helping them not knowing they were on drugs. Yes. So you were doing the best you can to help them, all right? And now you're leaving them to help themselves. And they will learn or not because of you pulling back and getting out of the way. You see, when you are there for them to blame you, then it's so easy. If you are there for them to steal from you, then you make the drug habit easy, right? And so to me, this is like, I choose to love you as a human, but I really don't love your behavior. So you have the right with some members of your family to say, as long as you are on drugs, I choose not to have you in my home. That's your right. Now, on the other hand, there are an awful lot of people who say, even though you're on drugs, you are welcome to Thanksgiving dinner. And that is a choice that you make. It's not for anybody else. But if you invite them for Thanksgiving dinner and you know they're on drugs, then you be aware that they could steal from you while they are there to feed their drug habit. That's like part of the plan. All right, so Kimmy, and you're saying yes, and now you're getting blamed for not understanding and not being there. I need you to be a broken record if you can, Kimmy, and just say, you know something? I love you, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. Britt, again, I choose not to repeat what you've just said because I think that is not adult behavior. That's the behavior of a young teen, not that of an adult. And my heart bleeds for you because I can feel that you would do that. That you yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, exactly. And it was also said by Mimi that sometimes when we think it's the end of the road, it is when we learn to fly. Wow, that's interesting. The Brit saying, I was a young teen. Yeah, that's right. That is the behavior of a young teen, not of an adult. Nothing and no one is a waste of time. If it doesn't give us what we are looking for, it teaches us what we need to learn. And Kimmy is saying that talking to drug addicts is like talking to a wall. You know something, Kimmy? I have to tell you that one of my personal greatest memories was dealing with somebody who cold turkeyed themselves off heroin. And I got to meet them just at the end of them doing that. And I remember saying to them, I cannot imagine the pain, anguish, terror, and everything else that you went through to cold turkey off heroin. But I do know it must have taken incredible courage for you to do it. And I want you to know that I am here and it is possible that in a moment of not trusting yourself, you could even go back. And if you go back, I want you to remember the courage that you have to get out of it again. And the amazing thing is that she did relapse and she did get herself out of it again. And I said to her when I spoke to her, I knew that you had the ability. The question is, did you choose to do it again? Did you choose to get out of it again? Because the important thing in life is to know we can adjust. And so, I look at it and go, I think that everybody out there deserves somebody who maybe trusts them more than they trust themselves. How many of you have found that out? That somebody else's trust in you, that you will learn the right way, that you will make the right decision for yourself, and that you will get through this, actually has really helped them. And Maya Ezra said, trust yourself always. Kimmy saying that some people will not stop doing drugs. Yes, Kimmy, do you know why? I think if you can understand why some people will never get off drugs is important. For any of you who know people like that, what is your input? Why do people consistently do drugs? I consistently did smoking. I did smoking for most of my life. I was a drug addict to nicotine. Nyasha is saying, I made a promise to myself. I'm never going to impress anybody but myself. I can't say that what you've done is wrong because that is what you taught at the time. That's what you thought at the time. Yes, I think it's really important that we see that. Some people don't want to come off drugs. But there's a reason why they don't want to come off drugs, Britt. What is it they're getting from drugs? It's not that it's what the drugs are giving them that is addictive to them. And Kimmy's saying, and the drugs are so strong. Yeah. And Nyasha's saying, in life, we go through situations which makes us stronger. Yes. But there are also things in life that, we don't think we can cope with. And the Brit is saying that drugs can drown out the pain of life. Yes. It takes them out of their reality. It gives them a high. It gives them a feeling of being invincible. It gives them, everybody has their own reason for doing drugs. It's not the same for everybody. It's the same. Why can some people jump out of airplanes, with a handkerchief, above them and believe that they're going to hit the ground safely? You've got a different DNA to be able to do that. Do I think it's possible to OD on prescription drugs accidentally? Yes, I do. And many people have done it. It depends what the cocktail is. If you happen to be taking, certain drugs and you haven't been honest with your medical professional that you're also taking this herb or this supplement, sometimes that can happen. That's why they say to you, make sure that you let your doctor know what funny herbs and supplements you're taking as well, because some of these interact badly. So you're saying that you forgot what you took? And that is a way of, I think most drugs, Brit, allow for you to double up on them by accident. All right. The same as I can remember, funny enough, going and visiting Benji one time and clean forgetting. At the time, I was on some heart meds that I'm not on anymore. Um, some heart meds, and I was on, thyroid medication and a couple of other things. And I forgot my meds. Somehow or other, I put them out to put into my overnight bag, and I didn't get them. I didn't put them in. And when I got down to Benji's, I began to panic a little bit, which is because I knew I was there for 48 hours. And, I can remember the trying not to panic. And I just went online to say, literally what I'd done, I have come on vacation without my drugs. How long can I go without them? And what I found out is most drugs you can go without for a couple of days. They don't recommend it, but, in an emergency like that. And it just took all that worry off me that it would take a couple of days for the levels to drop to a point that would be detrimental to my health. And then the other thing is this, that I don't believe that any doctor would prescribe you something that if you took two instead of one within a 24-hour period, that it would be really seriously detrimental. You're saying that you did it and you felt really ill. Did you discuss it with your doctor? And what was it? Because if you're taking, um, I'm trying to think that certain medications, are there for you to take only in an emergency. If you're freaking out or something. Um, well, codeine is very strong anyway. I try very hard not to take codeine at all. Yeah. Codeine is one of those ones to be very careful of. So, but something, I think we've all, done it. You didn't leave enough time in between doses. Yes, and we've all done it, Britt. Um, the same as we've all forgotten to take them occasionally. We're human beings. So I found out, so that there's a lesson in that, Britt, which is if you think you might have taken it, it's best to work out that you give it a minimum of 8 hours before you take another one, even if you think you've forgotten it. All right. Better to give it 8 hours before you take another one. Yeah. Because most medications you can actually do without for a couple of days if you have to. Now, codeine is normally something you take for pain. So were you taking it for pain? No, I didn't say leave it out. I said, when in doubt, give it a full 8 hours before you take another one. You were in agony, okay? So that is, that's why you had codeine. Yeah. So it also may be that you have a sensitivity to codeine, in which case I would have, I would recommend you discuss that experience with your doctor or your dentist so that maybe next time they can give you something, that you're not as sensitive to. But if it killed the pain, then I'm pretty sure that you were. I know, for example, I met a man who was taking um, some painkiller where it said you should only take 2 a day, and he was popping them like candy. And, yeah, it's different people have different tolerances. Oh, it's interesting. Britt is saying he actually shouldn't be taking it because he's not fully adult in terms of his mental capacity. Good. That's a really good way to do it. Also, Britt, it's, to actually write down when you took it. That is a really good idea. And by the way, if necessary, just write it on your bathroom mirror. I presume you probably keep the medication, in your bathroom or in your bedroom, but just literally, take a Sharpie and write it on your bathroom mirror, uh, because that's a good way to use it. If you can't find a piece of paper, just write it on the mirror. And that's why an awful lot of people, Britt, have pill cases that have morning, lunchtime, evening slots in them, so you can see. Yeah, you won't be making that mistake again. You see, that's what experience is, Britt. When we make a mistake, right? I want to tell you that it also works the other way. Yesterday, I went out for lunch, and with all the learning that I've been doing about my eating habits, I really made some great choices about what to eat for lunch. And though I thoroughly enjoyed it, I actually wanted to have some flatbread with some arugula lettuce on it, with some grape tomatoes and goat cheese. But it was so funny. I looked at the goat cheese as a protein. That was good. And I thought, the flatbread is a carb, so I think I'd like to double up on the protein. Jody would have been so proud of the way my mind was working. So I said, I wonder if you could bring me some prawns to go on top of that. And they said, sure. So now I had the carbs, which is the flatbread, and there wasn't that much of it, the flatbread, and then on top of that, I had lettuce. Well, that's good for me. Then feta cheese. Cheese is a protein. That's okay. Tomatoes. Well, that's healthy. And then the prawns on top. And I'm going, okay, I think I've done that. And I was so proud of the layering that I did. I then had vanilla ice cream and apple pie. And then I prayed. And then when I came home, I was not not overly careful about what I had in the evening, but I took my blood sugar this morning, and it was perfectly fine. And so you look at it and you go, we can adjust to our bodies when we know what they can handle. I think mixing something like ibuprofen and codeine, very dangerous. All right. I cannot believe that your doctor told you to do that. But if they did, yeah, very dangerous. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's how you learn. You're lucky I would give thanks that you survived it. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, you dodged a bullet there. I did it once, Brit, without really knowing what I was doing when I was about 18. I was on antibiotics and I drank. And I was actually in London. Um, and I woke up on the bathroom floor because what had happened was I'd had a fair amount to drink, and before I went to bed, um, I literally took the antibiotic, and it knocked me straight out, and it knocked me out for many hours. I was very lucky to live. So, to me, it's like sometimes these lessons, I assure you, I will never mix those two again. Money is the result of trust. Trust yourself, and the money will trust you. Now, listen to this one. It says that if you trust yourself, no one will ever betray you. Can any of you see the wisdom of that? Because I think if you trust yourself, got an itchy nose. If you trust yourself, you will always be protecting yourself in a good way. And therefore, you will be aware that everybody can betray you, and you will be strong enough in your boundaries and strong enough in yourself to not have that, affect your life. That it's like, oh, guess what? They did. And then be sad for the person that betrayed you. That is their stuff, not yours, right? So I look at it all and go, trust is difficult to earn. And for some of us, we trust other people far too quickly. Oh, it's a pleasure, Benji. Benji's saying, love the quotes and your insight on each of them. Thank you for the Sunday wisdom. I think it's important that we all understand that none of us is a perfect being. And that each of us, has learned through our life and our experiences. I wish that I had heard, the comment about don't mix antibiotics and drink. It probably said it on the bottle, but it's a bit like a child, right? Until you find out what do they mean by that, you don't, what's hot? Oh, that's hot. I don't like that. So, to me, I just want to check if my chat is working because my system says it isn't. So to me, it's about the way we learn is by talking to one another. The way we learn is to know that none of us is perfect. We've all made these mistakes, and I'm just very grateful that I survived mine. I am certain if I talk to everybody in the room and everybody that may listen to this, that we, each of us, have a story about when we, you know, really push the envelope just a little bit too far without realizing it. And that we are so grateful to be able to still be alive to tell the story. I am certain there are some people who climbed up trees that should never have gone that high and managed to get down before a branch broke. All right, can you guys hear me? I think there was a glitch in my server. I wonder how long I've been talking to myself. These things happen. So what I would encourage you to do is to trust yourself, but also be very aware of who you trust. And people say to me, how do I know who I can trust? And my attitude is you feed them little bits of information, and if they start using those bits of information against you, then maybe this isn't somebody you want to trust with your deepest, darkest secrets. But if you've over the period of time have told them stuff and they never use it against you, then you can probably trust them a little bit more. However, I've had people that I trusted implicitly, and they actually betrayed me later when I didn't do something that they wanted me to do. And then they used it against me. And it just is what it is. It's, life does that to you sometimes. So if you never want to get hurt, don't trust anybody, but that's no way to live. Right? And so we need to trust ourselves and also be aware that we will make mistakes, and that's fine. So I'm not getting any feedback here. So I wonder. Um, and if you're listening to this on the replay as well, I would really be interested to hear, which of these quotes, really resonated with you. What was it that you needed to hear? And what is it about trusting yourself that has been a lesson for you? I am pretty sure that each of us you had an instant reaction on meeting somebody going, I don't trust that person and I don't know why. And the answer to that is you don't have to know why, just be careful. Now, it may be that you don't know enough about them to trust them. And so over time, your view may change. But I believe trusting your gut is a really good idea. I do believe that we instinctively uh, get a feeling about people the same way as I also have found that I get a good feeling about people. It's like, I can so often I will meet two or three people and then I'll look at the middle one and I go, "You're a hugger. Can I give you a hug?" And they go, "Yes." And it's so funny because the other two will look at me and say, um, "Well, I am too." And I said, "Ah, but you didn't send off that vibration, all right? This lady did, by her smile, by the way she moved her body, everything about her told me she was a huggable. And so I wonder what it is that we do that makes us trustworthy to others. Perhaps I can get some input on that one. What is it that people do that make you think that they are trustworthy or not? Or not. That's the important one. So life is pretty amazing. And, it is so wonderful, I think. I'm just letting Jody, my admin, know that I actually can't see the chat. So something something isn't working on my chat right now. So if you're talking to me and I'm not coming back to you, it's because I can't read the chat. Maybe I can pick it up on another string. Okay. Jody, if there's anything I need to know, just send it to me on Messenger, please. And so to me, this is all about not just trusting ourselves, but trusting the process, trusting life. I think that when you look at highly successful people, they trust themselves to do the right things. They also trust themselves to be able to cope if they do the wrong things. They trust themselves to have the right inspiration. And also, I don't know if you've noticed this, highly successful people trust that they will meet the people that they need to make their dreams come true. Have you noticed that? I've so often spoken to highly successful people, and I'm going, how are you going to do that? I don't know yet because I haven't met the right person. But the next thing I will hear is, oh, but now I have. It's like the universe brings them in. Do any of you know about the collective consciousness? And because that is an important part of all of this. You see, we don't always have to know it all or to have all the right answers because what we have are other people. And if you like, that we're always sending out these wavelengths, if you've ever heard of the law of attraction, and to other people. And it's really strange how you will literally have an idea that you want to do something with, you want to achieve something. And out of nowhere, this person comes into your life. And they just happen to have all the skills you need. Or they happen to know this person, they're connected to this person, and they go, I'm so glad I met you because I know the person you need. And it is amazing how that law of attraction, and Jody, I definitely want to add that into the future broadcasts, right? How that law of attraction works and examples of it. So I would ask you all to be very trusting of yourself. Trust that even though your friends might not have the right answers in your view, they have the right answers for themselves. If the right answer for somebody is that they need to be on drugs, at the moment, with their understanding, that is the right answer for them. And that is why, however much we tweet and bleat at them, they don't see that we understand, right? You just don't understand. Well, no, we don't, because we're in a different mindset. And one of the things I used to do a lot of work helping people who were in recovery, either from drugs or alcohol or something. And one of the things that I learned there from them was you can really only work on one addiction at a time. So, maybe you're trying to get off drugs, but you're still going to smoke. Um, Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. And so, I learned that lesson that, that sometimes you just got to work on one thing at a time. You don't have to be perfect at all of them. So if you know people who are on drugs, you will know some that don't want to come off them, right? Because they quite honestly don't have the coping skills to come off them. And they know that coming off them is going to be horrendous. They might not have the courage. So maybe they do need to end up in jail a few times. Maybe they need to get locked up for a long time to get clean. And that is really, if you think about it, some people on drugs carry on doing drugs until they do a bad enough crime in order to try and get the money to pay for their drug habit, to do a bad enough a crime that they end up in jail for a long time. And then they're forced into being drug free to a certain extent. We know it isn't always a perfect system. And, for that, in a way, you have to be thankful that they managed to get into jail and into a drug-free, for the most part, a drug-free environment that gives them time to think and regroup, hopefully. And some people will go to jail and come out much worse than they went in. We know that too. So I think it is easy for us to judge somebody who has gone down that path. But as somebody who spent a lot of her life, addicted to nicotine, I want to tell you I also understand the addiction. And I also understand the fear of trying to cope without that crutch. And so today I go, I am grateful for the people that trusted that I would find my way out of that addiction. I really have to say that. I am grateful for the people who said to me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's bad for you because you already know that you're not stupid. I pray that you will get this, you will find the path to let it go. And I prayed for that too. I tried everything that there was to help me get clean of nicotine. I think I quit about 4 times. Okay, so and Jody's telling me that Kimmy is saying that the person on drugs has been in jail, in and out of jail, and more times than she can count, and also has been in and out of detox. So this is somebody who doesn't want to get better yet, Kimmy. All right, it's the same as me. How many times did I give up smoking? I gave up smoking probably 6 or 7 times before I eventually quit. All right. Just the first major crisis that came along, I was back smoking again. Makes sense, Kimmy. And I don't think it was because I was a bad person. It's because I didn't know how to cope without them. I had been smoking since I was about 13. And whenever I needed to think, whenever I needed to make a decision, whenever I needed space, I smoked. And so I think keep praying for that person and keep praying that they will find the strength. It's really important. Jody, you're doing an awesome job. Thank you. Jody is busy sending me, um, the comments that people are making because I can't read it. My chat has gone offline for some reason. Yeah, Nyasha is saying, I don't know if this is being nice or not, but I chose to answer all questions individuals ask me. But I was sadly mistaken. Yes, sometimes people ask me questions, and what I will say is, why do you need to know that? Now, some people ask me questions, and, the reason they're asking me questions is because they're genuinely interested. But I've had people ask me very inappropriate questions, and I will just look at them and go, "Oh," and they'll say, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." I don't have to answer. Right, Nyasha? Think that. Yes, sure, you can ask me the question, but that doesn't mean that you have to answer it. And if the question they ask is too personal or you don't think it's any of their business, it is okay to say, hey, I heard the question and, I gave you permission to ask it, but I have to tell you that I choose not to answer that one. I find it a bit too personal. I've had people online here, Nyasha, ask me incredibly personal questions about things. And I will just smile and say, hey, thanks for the question. I'm going to choose not to answer that one. It's, that's my business, my personal business. And so I think a lot of you will have found that, right? That some people just have no boundaries about asking you about your life. And it's not really, isn't any of their business. I've got some really good viewers um, that every now and then I have to say, excuse me a second, that's, I don't know you well enough to give you that answer. You know? You may think that you know me well enough, but I don't know you well enough. Asking inappropriate questions, the Brit is saying apparently, thanks, Jody, is so rude. Well, yeah, but what if they don't know it's inappropriate, Brit? I am certain there have been times when you have been really rude to people without realizing that the thing you just said was inappropriate. All right, I have. I am certain I have. And so, again, think about whether the person is doing this with intent or not. All right. If their intent is not to be inappropriate, then you can just say, "Hey, I hear the question, but I really choose not to answer that." Why not? Well, that's my personal business, buddy. Yeah. Um, Now, I've also got friends and even viewers that probably know more about my personal life than I ever imagined that they would. And the reason is because they're very trustworthy. And I slowly but surely trusted them with more and more information, and they have done nothing to cause me to break that trust. And so, I really want to say that trusting yourself to know um, how to do this is all part of the learning. And the only way you can learn it is by practicing it. And the Brit saying he also has times when he is intentionally rude. Hmm. I have a friend of mine, Brit, who will say to people, I don't mean to pry, and then immediately say, actually, yes, I do. And it's sort of like, you got to love it. But I really would encourage you not to intentionally hurt people. You can only end up hurting yourself by doing that, is my feeling. And it means that you have been hurt. For you to intentionally want to hurt somebody else means that you have been hurt, right? It is a reaction. And so I would ask you to feel it and feel that you want to do it and know that it's a really nice idea to actually not react. Just go, their stuff. Do I get people asking me inappropriate stuff? Yes. Or do they have them telling me inappropriate stuff? Yeah, absolutely. But again, Britt, what I try to do is to be aware who is asking me this. What sort of emotional intelligence do I believe they have? Are they, pretty evolved in terms of their emotional intelligence, or do they really not know the social um, norms around asking questions like that? And I try to give people credit for that. Just because they haven't been taught that that is inappropriate doesn't make them a bad person. It means they didn't have a good parent, all right, who instilled that in them. Or, so to me, this is like I've had all sorts of people ask me incredibly inappropriate questions in my time. Again, they can ask. I don't have to reply. That is a boundary. Oh, but you said I could ask a question. Yes, I did say you could ask the question. I didn't say I was going to answer it regardless. Makes sense. So that is what I found works really well. People can ask the questions. It doesn't mean that you are forced to reply. I hope that helps some of you. Yeah, and Kimmy's saying that she's hoping that she has never done that. Is that ask me inappropriate questions? I can't remember you asking me an inappropriate question, Kimmy. If that is to me that you're saying that, and you might have done it to your friends or whatever. I certainly have no memory of you doing it to me. So I'm just going to try and refresh this. But if I refresh it, it might end up that I nuke myself off the broadcast. Is that okay with everybody? Jody, can you just let me know what the response is? Because it's really hard work for you to do what you're doing, Jody, as much as I appreciate it. But maybe if I refresh, it will trigger it back in the right place again. I'll wait for Jody's response to that. And while I have this moment near, let's give Jody a big round of applause for, literally she is taking screenshots of what you're telling me and then passing it on to me through another system. So way to go, Jody. What would we do without you? I don't want to find out. I really don't want to know. So to me, this is all about trusting that you are learning the lessons you need to learn at your speed. Okay, go for it. That's what I'm going to do, Jody. So, everybody, if I do nuke myself out, it's been great being with you. We're close enough to the end of the broadcast, but I am going to try and do it. Hang on a second.